Hi guys, it's Blotters. If you didn't know, I created the Retexture Pack Jill's collection, and today I'm going to teach you from start to finish how to retexture an item for DayZ and set it up to test in offline mode. So there's a few tutorials out there already that show you how to do this, even one from Septic Falcon that I myself used when I first started. But since then, I've kind of updated and changed the way I do things. This tutorial is for Windows 10, as that's what I'm currently using. However, hopefully it's a similar method used in any other operating system. Everything I use that isn't supplied by Steam will be linked in the description underneath this video. First, let's start with getting our images and textures from game. You'll want to go to your Steam library and make sure you have your tools category ticked. Find DayZ Tools and install. I've already got it installed, so let's just open it up. From here, I'll go to these drop-down menus, go to Tools, and select Mount P Drive. What this will do is create a separate working space specifically for your DayZ projects. After mounting your P drive, you'll then want to take the time to extract game data. This will literally unpack every part of the game files for you to have access to and look through. It'll take a while, so let that unpack, maybe go do some housework, get some lunch, maybe do it overnight, or you could probably watch an episode of whatever TV show or anime that you might be binge watching. Once that's done, you'll suddenly have a few more things in your P drive. Now, mine will look a bit different to yours definitely, because I've been using this workspace for quite a while now and manage a good few things in the workspace. But what we're looking for specifically is this DayZ folder. We're going to open this up and find a texture for us to edit. You'll find almost all of your clothing textures under the characters folder, so let's find something for us to edit. So we'll go to tops, and in this folder you'll see all of these P3D files. These are the models themselves, so the models for what these look like on the player and on the ground or in your hand in inventory. To find textures, you'll go to what type of clothing you want. So, like today, we'll be retexturing a top. So we find the tops folder and then go into the data folder that's inside. Then we'll find the name of the top that we want to edit. Let's go for a raincoat. What you want to do is find the file that has an _CO at the end. This will be your color texture for whatever you're editing. The _NOHQ is what controls how bumpy something looks, and _SMDI is what controls how shiny or glossy the item looks. You don't need to mess with these if you're happy with how the current item is in regular DayZ, but instead just want to edit the colors or patterns on it. A PAA file is what the game registers as its image file. So to view this image, we're going to right-click, open with, tick the box that says always use this app to open .paa files, and choose another app. Go to More Apps, and then all the way down until you see Look for another app on this PC. It might open up already in your regular program files, but if not, find your local disk, which should be in your C drive, and find Program Files x86. Go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, and DayZ Tools. In here, you'll want to go to your bin folder and into the image2paa folder, and then select textview.exe. So we can now see what the texture looks like. You can use a few different methods to save the PAA image to something that you can use, but I find with this it's easy enough to be able to view the image when looking through the files and then simply head up to the file in the top left corner, save as, and then locate the place you want to save the image to. You can do a few different things, so you can save it to your desktop and work from your desktop, or a folder in your documents, or even have a place in your P drive for it. I personally use an external hard drive for my work, so that's where we'll be saving it. I keep a folder full of all the original PNG textures, so we're just going to add it to our collection in there. To save as something you can edit nicely, when you go to save the image in the folder, just change the .paa to a .png, and it'll edit the file format to something you can edit in your chosen image editing software. Now there's a few different pieces of software you can use. I personally use Photoshop, but that's because I'm used to using the program and have been using it for the last 10 plus years. I do know that there are a good few free alternatives out there though, like GIMP, Paint.net, Photopea, and so on. In the editing software of your choice, go ahead and open up your newly saved PNG file. Now we can do anything we want here. We can change it to be whatever color, have whatever pattern, it can have a logo on it, or text even. I've already edited the raincoat before, so I'm going to open up my Photoshop project that has everything separated already into layer groups. I'm not going to go in depth on how I retexture my stuff because I think we'd be here for hours, but I do highly recommend using masking layers and keeping copies of the original texture down in the bottom of your layer list. Obviously though, once you start retexturing, you will definitely find what works best for you. So here you can see I've masked these bits off. The white reflective bits can be their own color. The little metal parts like on the hood clasp can be whatever color I choose, and so on. Let's just do a quick edit for testing. So this is it. You've edited the texture and created something wonderful, I'm sure. If you simply want to send that off to whoever and have it added onto a server, then go for it. But if you want to test what it looks like in game, which I highly recommend, then there's a few more steps you'll need to take. We're going to start by making something called a local mod. To do this, we'll need to create a new folder in our P drive. We'll name it Tutorial Textures for now. And I'll leave a link to download this example folder down in the description, so don't worry. But feel free to pause or listen to me in slow motion, which can be very funny, to catch everything, as this part is often where some of us get extremely confused. In this folder, we want to have a clothing folder and a config.cpp. To make the config.cpp, right-click, go to New, and select Text Document. Rename the text document to config.cpp, and it'll ask if you're sure about changing the file type. Click OK, and there we go. Now, technically you could use whatever text software to edit this, but let's be real, if you use the regular Notepad, you're a psychopath. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I personally use Notepad++. If you don't have it already, head over to notepad++.org/downloads and select the most recent version. It's free, and once you get into it, relatively easy to use. When you open it up, it'll look a little different to how I've got it right now. As you can see, I have something called a workspace on my left, and I'm not being blinded by a white screen. To change the colors and style, all you need to do is go to Settings and then Style Configurator and select the theme. I haven't messed with it too much, but it looks like you can completely customize it. However, it's got specific colors already set for different coding and scripting languages as aids to help you when doing your work, so I've just gone with the Obsidian theme and left it as is. I like using the folder workspace because it becomes much easier looking for examples when typing out configs, which we'll go into a little bit more in a minute. But to get the workspace up and running, just click this button here next to the I symbol and open up your P drive in your file browser and drag and drop your DayZ file into the workspace area. It can take a minute because the folder is so large, but it saves a lot of trouble in the long run. Now that's all out of the way, we can finally start typing out our first config. I've already made a few different retexture packs, so we'll just copy what I've already written and adjust it here for our needs. There's a few ways you can structure your mod. You can put it all into one config and keep everything in one folder, which I don't personally recommend, or you can separate things out. I like to separate most of my categories of textures because I tend to make a lot of them, and it becomes easier to insert new ones when it's all separated and organized into their own files. So I'm going to teach you how to do them separately. First, we'll need our main config that tells us what the mod is and if there's any scripts it needs to reference when loading the mod on your offline mode or any server. For now, we don't need that, so we'll just leave that. Feel free to copy these configs and insert the relevant information for you and your mod, so things like the name of the class for that mod or the credits and author, etc. Once we've finished that, we can go ahead and save. Now we can go into our clothing folder. We have a few options here, like I said earlier. Either we throw all of our images in here, or we can organize it a little and have a folder labeled tops. And then, even further, we can make a folder entirely for raincoats. It's completely up to you how you'd like to do it. For now, I'm just going to leave the raincoat in the tops folder. Now we can grab our PNG we edited earlier and place it into the tops folder we just made, along with the new config CPP. In this new config, we'll want to copy some of the information we put in the previous one. We can copy the CFG patches and change the name in this class here. You want to make sure each new config you make has a different name here. Usually I go with whatever folder the config is inside. Now, we'll move on to putting together the information for the raincoat. You'll notice that the information for all of the clothing items are under this class called CFG vehicles. You'd think that would only be for cars, but it counts for clothes. Don't ask me why, I just accept it at this point. Now, under that, we'll put a squiggly bracket and hit enter. You see it pushes the line out a little more? Here is where we want to go back to the config for the tops in the DayZ files and look for raincoat. Hit Ctrl F to open up and find window and type in raincoat. Most, if not all, the clothes in DayZ have a color base that holds all of the key information for that item. Things like what model it needs to use, how big it is, how much storage it has, what the weight is, and so much more. For retexturing, the easiest way to do a config for something that already has a bunch of variations is to scroll down a little further and find, let's say, the orange raincoat. You see it says class raincoat _ orange and then raincoat _ color base. We can copy most of this information here for our own config. So we have our config and the information that we need. Here's how we set it up. We need to tell the server, hey, I want you to make a new one of these, but instead of their texture, just use mine. And to do that, we type out the item we're trying to make a new one of, so in our case, the raincoat _ color base, and then we use the information we just copied and place that underneath. Obviously, we don't want another orange raincoat, we want to use the one we just made, so we name this something different. Let's go with TT _ raincoat. We leave this second part here because we're saying to the server, this is a raincoat. So use all of the same information as the color base, but I want you to use these textures instead. Now the scope equals 2 here means that you'll be able to see the item in the object spawner list and you'll be able to pick it up when you spawn it on the ground. The color is something we can get rid of for this project. It's another tag that the game uses to reference a recipe. So if you pick up an orange raincoat and cut it up, it'll give you an orange armband. But only because the orange armband also has a color tag labeled orange too. But that's not really relevant for today, so we'll be removing that. And now the only thing left to change is these paths. Hidden selections in relation to retextures are the labels used to wrap textures to a model. If we go back to the raincoat _ color base, you can see it has a camo ground, camo male, and camo female. That's because this model looks different depending on what state it's in. If it's on the ground, if it's being worn by a male character, or if it's being worn by a female character. Because this item has 3 hidden selections, we need to reference the texture 3 times, 1 for each selection. So, back to our config, we'll change the hidden selections textures path from the DayZ game files path to our new one. Starting with the name of the folder in your P drive, which is tutorial textures, then \, clothing, tops, and then the name of your file. You need to remember to put the file extension at the end too. Even though we have a PNG in our file, we're going to label it PAA because by the time we finish packing this mod up, the file will be converted automatically. We repeat this another 2 times and then we close it all up. Now this is the main part where I've changed my method. Instead of using the image to PAA or the add-on builder tools that DayZ Tools gives us, I use a third-party set of tools given to us by Mikeros? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I'm so sorry. So if you go to mikeros.bytex.digital/downloads, you'll see a list of free downloads. I didn't pay for the premium tools for a long time, so there's no reason you should unless you've looked into what they offer and are happy with the pricing. Everything that I've made has been done using the free tools. You'll need to download Mikeros AIO install.exe. This is an all-in-one installer and will help you keep you up to date in the future. It may come up with a Windows Defender or something when trying to open the .exe, but I've been using these tools for a long while now and my computer is just fine. So click run anyways. If this makes you uncomfortable, then feel free to use add-on builder and the PBO manager method that other people use. I'll leave a link to Septic Falcon's video in the description. To find the tools we've just downloaded, go to your program files x86 and find the Mikeros folder. It'll have everything you've just downloaded in it. The main 2 programs I use are Eliteness and PBO Project. We'll use PBO Project to pack our mod up. Once it's opened up, you'll want to use the same settings that I have in order to make sure the tools pack up your mod according to DayZ requirements. Now, I do have the paid version currently installed, so after setting up the main box, hit setup and make sure you change the engine to DayZ SA, and then you might want to pause the video to get a good look at these settings because it's been a long time and I can't personally remember what a fresh install of the free tools look like. One important thing you should definitely do is click this button here that says on completion. Make sure you have these set to how you like. I do remember by default it will play very loud sounds when you either have an error or when you even successfully pack. I have mine to be silent and just flash the window when it's finished. Go ahead and click OK. Now, I promise we're almost there. We just need to tell the tool what you're trying to pack with the source folder button, which is our tutorial textures folder, and where you're trying to pack the mod to with the mod folder output button. Here, we'll want to find the DayZ directory folder for Steam, which is, unless you've moved it elsewhere, in your program files x86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, and DayZ folder. Here we can right-click New Folder and call it @tutorial textures, all one word. Select that folder and then hit the Crunch button. Depending on the size of your folder, how much stuff you have in it means it'll take however long to pack the mod. This should only take a few seconds because we've only got a couple files in this project. Inside that @tutorial textures folder we've made, there should now be an add-on folder, and inside that folder should be a .pbo, which is where the work we've just done has been packed into. Now that's all packed up, we can set up community offline mode in order to test our raincoat and see how it looks. Head on over to github.com/arkenza/DayZ community offline mode. You'll see a page with a few of these files and instructions underneath on how to set up offline mode. A quick rundown though would be to take the mission file that they have provided and use it to replace the one in your DayZ directory folder. Open it up to the desired map you'd like to test on. We'll go with Livonia, which is for some reason always labeled as Enoch. We want to find the DayZ community offline mode.bat file and right click, either edit or edit with Notepad++. After -script debug equals true, you want to put a space, then quotation -mod equals @tutorial textures, close quotation. This will tell the game to load the mod we've just made when you open up offline mode. Hit save and then double click on the .bat file we just edited to open up the offline mode. Once you get in game, press Y to open up the menu and then Object Spawner. You'll have a search bar, type in TT_raincoat or whatever you've named your item, and it should show up. Now the example in the window looks a little odd. Let's take a look at it on our character. It looks fine, doesn't it? So what's happened here is we only made one texture for the raincoat when there's actually two that you're supposed to make. The one for what it looks like on the body and the texture for what it looks like on the ground. That's why if we look again at the files, there are some raincoat_g_color name files. That's not a problem though. We can fix that super easy. This is why it's important to test your retextures before submitting them onto the workshop or onto a server. Some clothing require ground textures and some even require textures for the ground, male and female models. Clothes like the jeans or hoodies, for example, use all three. You should be able to tell if they have an _G or an _F and _M version of their textures. If you don't retexture them, then it will end up looking odd on the ground and on either the male or female model depending on which original texture you used. So it's always best to double check just to add that extra level of finish to your textures. What you'll need to do is the same thing that we did to get our first image to edit. Go ahead and edit the new texture, and once you're done, we can take a quick look at the original DayZ game config to see where we put this texture. If we take a look at the orange raincoat again, it has the raincoat_G_orange coming first in the list of texture paths. That's because if we scroll up a little bit, we can take a look at the list of hidden selections and see that camo ground comes before the others. So you always want to follow the order that the hidden selections come in for the hidden selections textures. Update the new path for your new ground texture, pack it up again like we just did before, and once you get in a game, you should be able to see a raincoat that looks good both on the ground and on your body. To add mods into your offline mode, go to your BAT file, edit, and add !workshop / and whatever mod folder you want to add. Let's use Windstrides as an example. If you cannot see your !workshop folder in your DayZ directory, then go to the View tab in your file browser and tick the Hidden Items box. Also, if you want to retexture something that a mod has added into the game, you can use the tools that you installed with the all-in-one installer by finding the mod and the add-on folder inside the mod. Now, if it doesn't already have this symbol next to the .pbo, then you can always right-click, open with, choose another app, tick the box at the bottom that says always use this app to open .pbo files, and if you don't see something that says extract all PBO types, then we can use the same method by finding the .exe we want, which would be in our Mikeros folder, dpbo tools, bin, and then the extract pbo.exe. Some mods out there are what we call obfuscated. This means that during the packing process, they've kind of encrypted their work so regular people without the know-how can't easily access their work. So unpacking workshop mods may not always work. Some creators also do not like you unpacking their work, so always make sure you double check on the workshop page, and especially do not unpack someone's work, repack it, and upload it without the original creator's explicit permission. I do not in any way support such things and did not make this tutorial to help or encourage such behavior. And then when you're retexturing from a mod, use the same method we used for the vanilla DayZ raincoat. Find what you want to retexture and then reference the item that they've created in their config in your own config and create the new item just the same way. I'm sorry this was extra long, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got the real start to finish for how I make my retextures, as I have been asked so much to explain the full process. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. I will try my very best to answer everyone that I can. I will also link my personal Discord so you can get in contact over there if you have any questions or would like any of my Photoshop project templates. And I will also link the Infusion Modders Discord, which is a helpful trove of information for anyone interested in modding in general for DayZ. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I am super excited to see what kind of creations you guys come up with. Take care, guys.